Welcome to Ctrl Alt and Lead, the podcast where we talk to the people leading modern IT about their biggest challenges, projects, and passions. For this, our very first episode, I sat down with Lesley Salmon, Global CDIO, Chief Digital Information Officer at Kellanova, a spin-out from cereal giant Kellogg. They're the people who make cornflakes, Rice Krispies, Pop-Tarts, Pringles, a whole host of things. Now, Kellanova has recently taken over the whole snacking side of things, so Pringles, Pop-Tarts, etc. And we'll talk about that massive spin-out project and Lesley's part in it in the upcoming episode, as well as the pain points involved. On top of that, it's 2024. Of course, we talked about AI and other trends shaping the future of IT, plus my hopeful wish for a future Pringles flavour. Enjoy.
So, Lesley, thanks so much for joining. Let's start with the spin-off from Kellogg's. Tell us about that. What is Kellanova? What did that spin-off look like?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Tom. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you today. So, in June 2022, the Kellogg company announced our plans to separate into two separate public companies. So, Kellanova, which is a global snacking-led powerhouse, which is what I'm the global CIO of now, and WK Kellogg Co., which is our North America cereal business. So we kind of split the Kellogg company into two companies. Spinning out a company is very complex. There's a whole myriad of systems and processes and people that you have to address, and you need a really clear strategy and excellent execution from everybody, not least of all from an IT perspective. And we completed our spin in October 2023. It was complex. It was hugely rewarding as well. And it needed us to take the whole of our IT landscape of a single company, split it, scale it to support two new, totally independent operating companies. And as you can imagine, IT absolutely was front and center of every stream of work. And at the same time, we needed to balance the demands of our spin alongside the demands of our existing company's IT strategy. You know, we had another two regions that weren't really massively involved in the spin activity, and they still had plans to deliver. So, you know, managing that against an ever-changing technology landscape as well was really a challenge, a once in a lifetime, once in a career challenge, I would say. And IT teams, they're critical to the success of any transition, and a spin is absolutely no different. And a spin is also fundamental to generating value. So that's pretty much what we did over that 18-month period.
Amazing. I mean, it sounds like a fascinating project. So you said, you know, IT was front and center. Tell us about that. How did you go about separating Kellanova's IT from Kellogg's IT and keeping both of them operational at the same time?
Well, you know what, Tom, I think a lot of the building blocks that we'd put in place as a global IT function and as a leadership team set us in good stead for taking on the spin. And let me talk about that in three different ways. So if I look at people, technology, and I'm going to talk about data a little bit as well. So from a people perspective, when I first took the role of global CIO at Kellogg in 2019, our team was really my first priority, and that's when our one team mantra was born. And if you think about it, we're a company of 4 regional IT teams plus a group of center teams. I absolutely believe our superpower is in bringing this together and operating as one global IT team. And we've got over 400 members of our IT family, and everybody needs to be pulling in the same direction. So we've got a global IT strategy that supports our regional businesses, and most importantly, it powers our company's vision and purpose, which is to create better days and a place at the table for everyone. And for this particular instance, it was around powering up our spin, and the whole of our IT team was behind powering up the spin. And I absolutely believe that that mantra was a really critical element in ensuring that we executed the spin seamlessly. And you know what, our one team approach has really not changed as we move forward as Kellanova as well.
So let's move on to the next building block.
Okay.
You were going.
Okay, single points of failure, Tom. Single points of failure can't be underestimated at any time. And they really come to the fore in a spin. I'm pretty sure most companies, most CIOs, leaders of any kind work really hard to make sure you have multiple support options. And nobody likes a situation where they're reliant on a single individual to support any part of their ecosystem. And we've worked really hard to get good diversity from a support perspective. And that did stand us in good stead as we looked to split our IT function into two separate IT functions. Now, it wasn't easy, and it's something that you've got to continue to keep an eye and a focus on. If you think about it, if you previously had one individual and you've managed to diversify, and maybe now you have three, you've got to create two IT functions out of those three people. So you've got to continue to work and build on that skill set and that capability moving forward as well. And I've spoken to you about Yoda in the past, which is our Year of Development Always program. We never compromise when it comes to investing in talent and capabilities, and I think that really, again, is another thing that stood us in good stead as we went into the spin. And we've kept that running. We kept our Yoda program running. So how do we cultivate our childhood curiosity to grow and learn and make sure we've got a Yoda moment for everyone? My goodness me, there were so many Yoda moments through the spin. Many of us had done a merger and or an acquisition. Very, very few of us, me included, had ever been through a spin. And I had a feeling going into the spin that it was more than just an acquisition plus a divestiture. Couldn't quite articulate why, but it certainly was absolutely so much more than those two combined. Is very different. Lots of Yoda moments for all of us.
Okay, so we've talked about two of those building blocks. The last one I think you said was technology.
Yeah, let me talk about technology a little bit. And again, a building block that set us up in good stead. So we've had a cloud first strategy for quite a few years now. In fact, we were one of the first, if not the first, large CPG company to shift our whole SAP production environment to the cloud. And that landscape really resulted in a seamless transition of all of our data, our infrastructure, our applications into two separate IT landscapes. So we could really leverage the scalability, the agility, the cost effectiveness of cloud computing. So, there was no need for either company to bear the expense of setting up a traditional data center. So really the agility that you get from a cloud first strategy really, really set us up well for this, as it does for lots of other initiatives as well. But really, I couldn't even begin to think about setting up a spin if you're still relying on traditional data centers and hardwire. So that really, really helped us. And then the other thing I would say is, we all know technology is ubiquitous. IT aren't the sole owners of technology and digital. And outside of IT, our team, we've been working really hard to create a digitally fit workforce at Kellanova, and we've got our enterprise-wide learning program, which is Work Smart. So we allow our colleagues to play, to practice, to learn about the modern suite of workplace solutions that we've got. Microsoft Teams is our primary collaboration platform. And again, this was a multi-regional, across the globe initiative for IT and for everybody, and using the power of those collaboration platforms to really operate as one virtual team, again, helped us and set us up in good stead for the future and for creating the spin and getting through the program unscathed, relatively unscathed.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, relatively unscathed. Were there any pain points in the process? Anything outstanding? I mean, you've talked a lot now about how IT has helped everything and how tech is ubiquitous throughout Kellogg and Kellanova. But was there anything that was sort of a stumbling block for you?
There was lots of challenges through the program. Let me talk about data a little bit, and let me first give you some data points from the spin program to give an idea of the scale, and then I'm just going to talk about more broadly data through the spin program. So we updated over 300 systems. We executed kind of 4,300 test scripts, 1,600 transports in SAP alone. there were over kind of close to 8,000 user IDs that needed to be set up, changed, created to create 2 completely independent companies. We deployed 1,700 desktops and laptops. So the scale was bigger than anything else that we've done before. And we did it all whilst our production continued, whilst we still distributed orders, our consumers still could get their much loved brands without any system disruption, really. So that's kind of the scale. And if you think about data and analytics, that was also a huge part of our spin activities. And we stood up a whole stream that was dedicated to data. So how do we actually go about separating it? Which company gets which data? Where do we host it? Whose responsibility is it to decide which data goes where? You know, just think about email and all the history that you've got in email. Somebody is going into a brand new role. What history do they take with them? What do they have to leave behind? Who's got that ownership moving forward? So data was absolutely a massive part and challenge of the program. And you know what, the spin was unique in many ways, but one thing that's common to all of the projects that I've worked on is that the true need, value and availability of data and analytics really doesn't get clear until you get towards the end of a program. So people they know what the new roles are, they're trained in the new roles, and they know what the new processes are, and then suddenly they realize that there's a whole different data landscape that they have to get access to. And it's that dawning realization, which is quite close usually towards the end of the program, that you've got to go back and check, did we get the data strategy and the analytics strategy right? So yeah, that was probably one of the bigger, hugely complex, but that was one of the bigger challenges. And people get very emotional about data. It's not like a back-end network that people don't get emotional about. It's the thing that they interact with on a daily basis. So there's a whole heap of emotion involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were talking about some of the challenges there, it's like I heard 1,000 CIOs crying out in fear.
I would say embrace it. Absolutely embrace it. It was an amazing experience. Really fulfilling. Yeah, lots of learnings for sure. Not sure I want to do it again, but it was a great opportunity.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about learnings and data. I mean, these are things that are shaping the future of the IT industry. So let's now transition into talking about the future. You know, some of the tech trends that you can see that are really having a big impact on IT at the moment. I think there's probably one that's definitely going to come up, but I won't lead you in the question. Why don't you answer for yourself?
Oh, let me not disappoint you, Tom. Let me start with the one that you think is probably going to come up. Let me start with generative AI, large language models, whatever you want to refer to it as. And I'd already mentioned that we run a Microsoft suite of productivity and collaboration tools. And really the latest developments in that suite, so Microsoft Copilot for the web, which was launched broadly in 2024, we've really embraced this AI-driven assistant, a Copilot. It's not going to fly the plane for you, but it's there as a Copilot. To support with real-time code suggestions, you know, the collaboration features that maybe spur innovation, deal with a tricky kind of fact-finding situation. And we're encouraging everybody across the whole of our organization to embrace Microsoft Copilot for the web. And we're running sessions called curiosity clinics. So when Gen AI first came about and different companies took different stance, some said, no, we're going to, not allow access to it. We're going to block it. And you can't use ChatGPT. We didn't. We knew that people would use it anyway. We want them to use it in their personal lives. We want them to embrace technology. So we said to people, be curious, but cautious in the early days. So don't put any Kellanova data in there, but experiment and have a play. And then when we got a protected suite from Microsoft Copilot for the web, we really went big, and we've set up things called curiosity clinics, open to everybody across our organization. We've had 5,000 or 6,000 people totally voluntarily come through the curiosity clinics, many more than once, because they love what they learn. And we just teach people that, just play with it. You can't break these things, just play with it. And we've done things like create a greetings card, just something that is, people can relate to in everyday life. Use it the prompt is all important. You know, it gets people thinking about how do they interact, what prompts do they put in, what outputs do they get. And then we've done things like create a new product. So think of your favorite Pringles flavor or a flavor that doesn't exist. What might you want? And again, generate artwork, generate flavors, just to play, just to get people interacting with digital capabilities. So everybody, I think a lot of excitement, a lot of engagement, probably a balance of excitement and fear and anxiety because the future's unknown. But I think one thing's for certain, if you're not going to embrace this sort of technology, the future is going to be a big challenge. So embracing it is really, really important. I think that's probably where you were expecting me to go, but let me touch on a few more things that are really, you know, key now and will continue to be in the future. So Internet of Things. So that's playing a crucial role in transforming our supply chain operations. We call that our smart factory. So smart sensors, connected devices, providing real-time data on the movement of goods. So we get better visibility, we get better traceability, helps us reduce our cost, helps us increase our quality and safety through the whole of the supply chain. So, you know, a lot of work already done and much more to come on that as we look towards digital twinning and really, really embracing the power of what we can do in our supply chain. I can't not mention omni-channel commerce, so e-commerce platforms, digital platforms, direct-to-consumer models. I mean, that's really reshaping how our products reach consumers, and it's critical in today's world that we've got a strategy and an approach where we can win where the shoppers shop. We've got to provide them with an experience that makes their buying journey easier. So how do we look at our technology platforms to get direct relationships with consumers so that we can gather data on their preferences, we can create personalized marketing strategies, obviously if they're up for that and they want it, and we're leveraging AI to optimize product recommendations, enhance our overall online shopping experience, and we're going to continue to make investments in this area to make sure we reach our consumers where they are, and we can unlock opportunities on every platform possible, because omni-channel really being everywhere that the consumer is really key in that area.
Great. That is just some fascinating stuff. I love the idea of the curiosity clinics, and it really just seems to me like the most sensible way of embracing a new technology, especially one that, I mean, our own research that we released recently just shows that people are very curious, but also very cautious about AI. So yeah, that seems like a really sensible way of exploring this new technology, and hopefully this inspires some of our listeners to adopt the same approach.
I hope so. I've spoken to quite a few people about curiosity clinics, and it just seems to grab people. It's quite catchy, a little bit like our Yoda program. There you go, I've said it again. It just kind of captures people's attention. It's easy and yeah, I'm very invited. And you know, just one more thing about that. So I said it's available to everybody, and I literally mean it's available to everybody. So in some of our sessions, we've had the president of our regions attending alongside, you know, some of the factory operatives, and they're learning together hand in hand. It's a very, very equaling technology, because we're on a learning journey together. And I think it's important, you know, it's that almost reverse mentoring. It's important that everybody's in the same boat, and we know that, and we can go on a learning journey together.
Brilliant. Well, that really nicely leads me into asking you my next question, which is some of the essential strategies and tools. I assumed you were going to talk about AI. So some of the essential strategies and tools that the workforce needs to thrive alongside AI. What can you do to equip people to sort of really make the most of this new tech?
Okay, I am going to refer back to data in terms of thinking about essential strategies and tools to equip the workforce on AI. Data is absolutely the foundation, the bedrock for enabling AI in any shape or form, regardless of which function people work in. And we have a team in IT, so data and analytics sits in IT, and I have a team of people who are focusing on the governance, the quality, the ethics, the legislation, what can we do, what can't we do, and also what should we do, what shouldn't we do to ensure that we operate AI in a way that fits with our values without putting us at a competitive disadvantage. So data fundamental to making sure that we've got the right platform to really embrace AI moving forward, and continue to invest and to encourage our people to explore learning opportunities. The Curiosity Clinics is one element. We're also equipping our top 150 leaders around the company with more education around digital transformation. So what is a digital transformation, of which obviously AI is a big part of it? So what is it? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to your role? How do we equip ourselves moving forward? So that's another element that we're looking at as well, as we think about AI in the future.
So I would term this probably as digital upskilling. So, upskilling people to sort of work with new technologies. How do you assess the ROI of a program like that?
Well, I think not training people probably is a big part of the ROI. There's a few different statistics that you can look at. The cost of somebody leaving if you don't train them, either because they want to go and use digital skills elsewhere or because you don't think they've got the skills that they need and you bring somebody new in. 50K, 1.5 times the salary of a person. There's an actual dollar attached to the ROI of digitally upskilling people. So if nothing else existed, there is a real tangible dollar return on your investment in making sure you train people. It's the age-old adage, isn't it? What if we train people and we leave? What if we don't train them and they stay? We're not going to create the future that we want from a Kellanova being a global snacking powerhouse if we don't upskill our people digitally. And then there's the whole engagement piece as well, and that this does link back to the dollars. If people leave, people want to be using the latest and greatest technology. Most people want to be learning and growing and developing, and if they're not going to get that opportunity at Kellanova, they won't be engaged. And if they're not engaged, they won't be the most productive, and maybe they'll stay and not be productive, or they leave and they'll be productive somewhere else. So absolutely, engagement is really, really key. I want an engaged workforce. I want people that wake up in the morning and go, really looking forward to going to work today. And I think upskilling and keeping people up to date on the latest trends from a technology perspective, not just IT, that applies to everybody across our organization. And we partner, so IT partner really closely with some of our other functions. So our corp comms team around, how do we continue to talk about the opportunities that AI and digital upskilling brings to our organization, as well as our HR team and our talent team, making sure that people embrace it as part of their everyday, build it into their goals and their development opportunities moving forward.
Well, Lesley, I'm unfortunately sorry to say that we're almost out of time. So I'm going to ask you just one more question. It sounds like there's been a huge amount of development in IT at Kellanova over the last 12 months. What are the next 12 months going to bring? What's the future of IT at Kellanova?
Well, gone are the days when IT is simply charged with keeping an organization safe, secure, and up to date. That is still very, very critical and very, very important. It really, really is. However, Kellanova IT team is at the forefront of our tech trends that are going to solve business problems, that are going to really unlock growth across our commercial businesses, efficiencies across our supply chain, and all of our other functions, to bringing them together and collaborate, most importantly, with our people, supporting our customers and delighting our consumers. So yeah, Brilliant. The future's very bright.
Excellent. And while I've got you, I thought I'd lobby for my own wannabe Pringles flavour, lamb tagine, right? Everybody does beef and bacon. The humble lamb shank gets forgotten.
Okay, I'll make a note, Tom, and maybe you can go on to one of those Gen AI tools and see what the artwork would look like for Pringles lamb tagine and share it with me. I look forward to sharing it with our R&D department.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me, Lesley.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks so much for listening to this very first episode of Ctrl Alt Lead. We'll be releasing new episodes every 2 weeks, and next time I'm joined by Very Group's ex-CIO Matt Gresh to talk all about AI. If you've enjoyed yourself today, please leave us a review. It really does help out new podcasts like this one. And head over to computing.co.uk, where you can find plenty more CIO interviews, as well as loads of in-depth content about the IT sector. See you soon.